Power Move, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing out there today, Miss Verna?
I am doing better than amazing because once again we're here spreading the news.
Exactly. So let's go back and pick up off where we was at with the first part. We were talking about how people were hemorrhaging with their finances, but they were doing it in silence. So what was the key points that you were going to with this? Because I'm telling you, it seemed like it was going to be a juicy topic. That's why I had to stop you in the first part of this conversation.
Basically, because a lot of times we are holding on to some information. Just like we said, we're holding on to that information because of what we were taught by our grandparents or great grandparents, a favorite teacher, or whatever it is that we learned, whoever we learned it from, and how we admired them. So we held on to that. We're doing the same thing with our finances. We're doing the same thing with our finances because there was a point in time where I remember even me growing up, and I like to be transparent, Brian, because if you don't let people know where you are, where you're coming from, they don't understand why you're giving them the information you're giving them. Okay. So I'm going to be transparent. I remember growing up, my mama was a very proud lady. She was a single mom. She did this on her own. Hard-working woman, got a job with the government at a young age. Okay. And she held it down. My mama bought a home and paid that home off and everything. But she was proud. And she was the type, I'm not depending on the government. That was a good thing, right?
Understood.
That was a good thing. But you know what her mentality was? I don't want the government in my business. So she ain't applying for no food stamps. She ain't applying for no Medicaid, no welfare. She ain't giving the government no more information than is required.
Well, I mean, look at it from this angle. Maybe your mother knew something that you didn't know, okay? When I say you didn't know, maybe she has seen something that happened in her life that she said that's not gonna be her. She won't want to be dependent by, quote unquote, the system, because everybody, look at the system that we were brought up in, and, some of us, we love it, and some of us like, why is it that way? But in truth be told, when our forefathers started the foundation of the actual monetary system, it wasn't set up for people like me and you. When I say me and you, it doesn't have nothing to do with race or religion or background. We're talking about the elites versus the people that they want to work in the work class for the rest of their life. When I say we're talking about the money guys, and this history, as me and you know it because we've learned it, that it goes all the way back to 1933, you know what I mean? When they started the Federal Reserve, all right? And we know the story. They went down to Jekyll Island in secrecy on a train, and it was blindfolded and like that. And in secrecy, they got off on Jekyll Island, and until everybody agreed to sign that actual, it's like a petition almost, basically similar to that. It doesn't have to be the quote unquote correct word, but it's like a petition whenever they sign. And when they signed this, when they signed all together, all these wealthy guys, then they took this back up to DC, and the president signed off on this, and this is where they started the Federal Reserve. And that's just one portion of a thought process of what we were born into, because a lot of us, just like I said before, we were doing stuff off of circumstances financially. We weren't doing it off of here's the blueprint on how we're gonna do wealthy. But I really think your mother, she knew something somewhat to that effect, and that's probably why she didn't want them in her business,
But I brought that point up, not only for that, is that, not that, and I get it, right, because even to me today, the system isn't meant for you to live off of. It's meant for you to use it as a stepping stone, and then you get off. But like you said, so many people get into that system and get stuck. And yeah, maybe that was her reason for not wanting to, because she didn't want to ever be stuck into that system, because it do reel you in. Because I remember getting into that system. I remember being that proud person. I'm not going to depend on the government either. I only go for food stamps and welfare if I have to. Okay. I might have to, meaning is, I don't care if it means at the end of the month I might not have any money in my account. for me to think. I'm not gonna just go and get free stamps just so I can have big bank, because guess what? A lot of times you got to be the person who willing to lower your income just for them to give you some means. But I brought that up to say this when I say we're hemorrhaging, because when it was time for me to go to school, to go to college, my mama said, if you want to go to college, you're going to have to apply for financial aid on your own, because I'm not filling out those forms, because I'm not giving the government no more information than they need. And even though that was to help me, her mind was like, I don't want them in my pocket. Now that's why I say we're hemorrhaging, because of sometimes the information that we have. Because little that she knew that could have helped me, but she wasn't willing to give that information up, even to help me in that way. And I'm not knocking my mom. God bless her soul. God, so people out there who knew my mom, please don't think I'm bashing her. It's just that I'm saying that we are hemorrhaging because we either hold on to some information, we're misled by information, or we refuse to give up the information that we know, even when we come across a better way.
I agree with you, and the reason why I say I agree with you, because a lot of things, when I stepped out of my mother's home, and I had to figure it out on my own. When I said I had to figure it out on my own, not meaning that she wouldn't have told me some of the things she did, but there was that point where she had to cut the umbilical cord and let me go out there and let life teach me lessons that maybe, just maybe, some things that she knew right off she would tell me, because most mothers, they don't usually do things to want to harm their child. They want their child to grow in every area. But a mother's instinct a lot of times is to protect the child from what the world is going to do to hurt them. But it was a point where I had to get cut off as a man, even to the point I used to tell people the story that, I asked my mom for a car at the age of 20 years old. And I didn't realize that at the age of 20 years old, 18, I was emancipated from my mom. Legally, she didn't have to, do anything else for me. But she still looked out for me, because she was like, hey, you go to school, you do the right thing, hey, I'll look out for you. But what I had to realize, I had to step out basically on, just growing up as a man. And I would say that along the way, life has been a great teacher. And at the same time, I ran into some awesome people, because, it's crazy how you run into complete strangers, and complete strangers will give you information that will take you to a whole other realm that even people that do your whole life growing up won't even give you. And they'll see what you're doing, and it is kind of like watch your life eating popcorn, like, let's see how it's gonna go. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying hold your hand, because it's necessary for you to go out there just like in the wilderness to learn, metaphorically. But think about this. What was it like when you thought about some of these things that you went through? You saw some of the people our family go through, and then now you're on the other end of the stick, because you've been learning something that helped with a lot of these issues we're talking about financially. So think about this, right? Out of all the major things you did in your life, right? What was it like the first time you bought a car? You bought a car. You rented your first home. You looked at purchasing your first home. You even looked at, hey, how can I stop overspending, or hey, where's my money going? How did it feel when you embarked into what was really going on in the financial world financially, after you hearing these things about your mom saying people in your business? And in reality, it's almost like, if we look at, we're knowing how they get their money check-wise, legally, in a legally realm, we know where they stay, we know what type of car to drive, people are already labeling you basically where you live at, what you drive, and where you work. They already put you in a class by that alone.
That's true. Stepping out in this world and learning life, and some things that you learn the hard way. Some of it, people told you certain things and you grasp it, and some of it you said. Because I remember growing up, my grandmother, she was not even growing up. Once we were a little bit adulting, our mail always went to her mailbox, right? And my grandmother was the type, she believed in paying your bills on time. Isn't that something we're learning that you pay your bills on time so you don't overpay.
Yeah.
She taught me that. Basically, if you make $1, save a dime. Something we don't need today.
Yeah.
So it's not like these things weren't taught to me. It's just that at the time I didn't see it the way how she saw it. Mm-hmm. Today I wish I did listen to her now. But I brought up to say she was the type who, when she got that mail, you open that mailbox and your pink envelope comes in the mail. Because back in the day, our phone bill came in a blue envelope. But if it was late, it came in a pink envelope. So that means everybody knew you paid your bill late. And my grandmother would get very upset because it came in a pink envelope, which means you didn't pay it on time.
Yeah.
And her mentality was, if you didn't pay it on time, that means you gave them more money than they were supposed to get.
Wow. See, I never thought about it like that, because growing up, I basically, I would see the difference in some of the mail, but I always liked when I see the mail that was in the yellow envelope, and it said, and it basically said you would be penalized if you open the mail or whatever. And I'm like, oh, that's the check that's coming in, and you got used to that. But in reality, as I grew, and a lot of our family worked so hard, a lot of those checks that came in the mailbox weren't even a fraction of the amount that our people worked so hard for. You know what I mean? Even down to, we're gonna peel a little bit deeper, even down to some of those pensions after they kind of retired, because if that check didn't hit that mailbox or didn't get that check, some people had some serious emotions. I say emotions. They were sad. They got sad that didn't get that check. So it was a good thing. And then it's kind of, once as you grew, it's like, hey, I'm looking for something in the mail. They say I'm looking for something in the mail. You're like, I know what they're looking for. It's something that's gonna make them happy. Something gonna make them feel good. So you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. When she talked about you giving them more than what you think, a lot of us look at that grace period that they gave us between the time that your bill is due and when it's considered late. But if you late, you still have a little bit more grace, because now it's due between the 1st and the 5th. You don't have to pay no fee. But after the 5th to the 10th, you're gonna pay an extra $5, $10, $15, $20. Well, that $5, $10, $15, $20 is money that they weren't necessarily counting on. It's in there as a cushion, but that was extra money you gave them. That's $5 to $20 that you giving that bill company that could have been yours. They weren't counting on that. That's their extra. That's that company's extra to now invest in something. Because remember, the money that they built you was to run the service that they gave you. That's to pay the workers, to pay their phone bill, to pay their mortgage, to pay their whatever. That's their operating money. But that $5 to $20, that late fee money, that's their investment money. That's what?
I'm just over here looking at you in an odd moment, like, so you mean they're taking my late fee money and they're investing with it?
Exactly.
And they counting on it. Matter of fact, they banking on it. Look, I ain't with that.
And a lot of us, we are happy for that, because, or I'm gonna put it on an arrangement, but you're still getting penalized for making an arrangement to pay it, because they wanted their whole money up front. That was your remember the other day I made a post, I said, convenient, you pay for the convenience that you want.
Wow.
You pay for the convenience that you want. So to conveniently not have to pay them all the money up front, you will pay for that with a late fee.
Wow. Never looked at it that way. But, and with you saying that just enlightens me to like, hey, don't be late on that bill. You know what I mean? Get them up out of there so you can have the back end. So think about this. On the flip side of that, all those extra fees that we're paying, that could have been your savings. That could have been your net savings. Like, all right, every time when you pay, I'm like, oh, I'm late fee to the side. Next thing you know, you got a nice little nest egg to do something with, you know. And I was looking at some different things. Some people are like, when is a good time to invest? When is a good time to put away some money? Okay,
I think that's another topic, Brian. I think we could stop right here because that sounds like a whole nother can of worms we're going to be opening up.
Okay, so would you say in conclusion of what we're talking about right now, we're going to leave it at, people don't have to hemorrhage in silent financially, and then we're going to go into the third part whenever we come back. So she's definitely right. We're going to shut this down. Hey, so follow us on part 3. Hey, but we're going to have to close it out at the cash flow roundtable conversation. So follow us for part 3. Part 3 is when is the best time to invest. See ya.